Is life a perception based on perspective, or is perspective based on perceptions?
Have you completely lost it?
No, wait, it's just perceptions.
Isn't life just like a box of paints, full of colorful people, events, and
Arey no, it's just black and white, like binary.
Dude, for people like us and all, there are only two options in life. It's engineering or medicine.
Bro, come on. There's a whole lot more to life than just that. You're just looking at it from the wrong perspective.
That's completely anti-national. How can you say that? I mean, how can you not be patriotic?
I don't believe in such ideas, to be honest. The notion of a country itself is just this perception that has been planted in our minds.
Children, life is just like a balance sheet. You must balance things out to give rise to that final statement, just as a balance sheet declares a final statement.
Has she gone mad?
No, dude. Think about it.
Perspections. Life through perspectives and perceptions.
Episode 2. Striking a Balance Without Actually Creating One with Akhilesh Ram.
Hello everybody and welcome to the show.
On today's show, we speak about how my guest has been able to focus on what really matters to him the most, how the definition of hard work has truly changed for him as a person, and most importantly, how this balance in his life has been created organically without actually trying to create one. My guest is unassumingly very interesting and has swam for over 10 years in his life and eventually reached the national level at the age of just 10, and later started playing basketball fairly seriously and then moved on to study with Pilani Goa, and now finally is at Bangalore doing an internship. Without further ado, I welcome on Akhilesh Ram.
Thank you, Veer.
Akhilesh is one of the most relaxed, chill out guys. I don't know, I just wanted to see how this worked out.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it. So through all the hard work that you have put in, I think it's fair to say that
you were self-motivated, to say the least. It was not your parents or the environment. It seems as if that you pushed yourself the most out of everyone around you.
I would say my mom was necessary at certain times, because as a kid it's easy. Most kids generally have this pattern of trying something for 6 months, loving it for a while, falling out of love with it, and shifting to something new. Yeah. While I didn't have something as often as that, there were times when my motivation or my sincerity flagged, and my mom was always there to ensure that I didn't drop something that was good for me.
And the idea of being sincere, how has that worked with yourself today in your lifestyle? Like,
having honest and transparent approach with people also has come from my mom. Yeah. Drilling in the importance of things like honesty. But I wouldn't say coming to POG sincerity, because I mean, if I didn't enjoy it, it was something that was neutral to me, but I was doing purely for improvement, then I suppose it would speak to sincerity. Yeah. But more when I practice or when I decide something to ensure that I see it through without taking any shortcuts is more something I've learned from swimming, and also having seen the kind of effort it takes to do well in academics or swimming.
Yeah. Is it not more of routine? Is it more of just self-improvement?
They go hand in hand, I suppose. It's very rare for someone to have self-improvement without routine, because only repeated practice is the kind of hard work that is going to take you anywhere. You have to have a routine with the vision of self-improvement to be able to accomplish anything.
Relating back to the idea of goals, now what is the goal?
Right now, it's just to have as much fun as I can, and in the smaller, more micro sense, whenever I'm at practice, more so when I'm at practice, but also when I'm playing, to give things my all and play with the philosophy in mind, where you don't flag off on defense, or you don't try to cheat things by taking shortcuts.
No, I see that often as well. When you miss a shot, when you miss a layup, when you just sag off on defense, yeah, my bad, man. You do that a lot, and I think that really comes from just the way you built your lifestyle.
Yeah, it's probably another thing. I probably credit my mom for most of the positive things that I have, because she's inculcated in me. But to be critical of yourself is important.
And how has that made you a better person? Like, do you reflect on yourself every day or everything you do? What is it like?
Not really. I just flow through life.
And
not much reflection done.
so just in the moment that, oh, I could have done that better. Let's move on. What's next?
Yeah, pretty much. Without any conscious effort towards it, I generally have, I don't know if it's a tendency or an ability. What happens? I mean, it's important to, if you know what you want, to hone in on that. But have an end goal and have a plan, often I find doesn't come in the way of just flowing.
Yeah.
So when I mean flow, I probably mean not obsessing over things that don't go perfectly.
Or more like flowing towards the plan some way or another.
Yeah. Though there are some things which I react very aggressively towards, not quite aggressively, but with a more intense reaction, which would probably be things which I'm passionate about, like basketball, when I do things wrong. But in general in life, I know to take a step back about things that are not that important to me, so that I can enjoy myself and not get down on everything that happens.
Does that also relate to your calm nature, like not getting angry too often and just letting things pass and enjoying the moment?
Probably, though that's not something I've worked on.
And the fact that other things around you, they often became a habit because you fell in love with it, right?
First you fall in love and then it's just a part of your life.
Yeah. It was never that you were pushed to do something?
I mean, there was some element of pushing, especially by a coach, because you need to be pushed to some point of discomfort when you're looking to better yourself, when you're looking at accomplishing something difficult. But in something like basketball, I would be able to push myself.
Yeah.
But at some points in time, I required that from my coach. I always had a brilliant coaches when I was at swimming.
And does that discourage you when you feel when someone critiques you, or do you use it as motivation?
Having coaches that I looked up to helped me better accept criticism. I actively seek input from especially a coach at basketball maybe.
So it's more of someone who you admire is someone who you listen to, and other people you wouldn't.
I would like to be more receptive of everyone's opinion. I probably take in more from someone I admire.
When it comes to subjects that you do love, do you go all in and try and know every intricate detail about the sport or about the event?
Definitely. I mean, I've basketball footage I've consumed and the amount of time I've spent on court through college is not something I've seen anyone else do.
And why is that? What's the reason to have this unnatural obsession with certain things?
If you love something as much, gives you most happiness to spend your time doing that. It gives you an escape from anything else.
Yeah, so you've seen it more as an escape and not something that eats up your time.
Escape and also productive use of time.
No, because it sometimes can get to a point where you're overdoing things.
Very often done irrational things and spend more time on basketball.
And just finding that balance, it seems to be a major factor throughout your entire life. Like in most situations, you have just tried to find that balance which is best for you and not for anyone else.
I don't think that effort went into it.
Yeah.
I hope I ended up finding the right balance, but there are some things that inform what I do, like things that I like and things that I have to do, and everything else just falls in place. I don't make much of an effort to imagine the perfect balance and try to create that balance.
So you just let things happen as you were drawn to what you liked and what you had to do, and that was the balance
that got created for me. Yes.
Yeah. It eventually just fell into place.
Yeah, I've just been very, very lucky in that.
So you live with the idea of no regrets and you just move on ever so easily.
I think I have an easier time moving on than others. So even if there is some small regret, I am able to switch off from things very easily.
Why is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I was always not called, but a lot of my friends called me a robot in school.
What brought that nickname?
Because I didn't show emotion much. I mean, I was happy, and also that when all of them were head over heels over some girl or the other, I was not.
So that makes you a robot.
That was the main motivation for for being called a robot, but also not showing much emotion.
So the idea of just you being with yourself also stuck with you in school and not showing too much emotions. I mean, even
I wasn't with myself at school, honestly. I knew, since I was in the same school for 10 years, I knew every single person, even if when the number of people in my class went to 100 or more. I knew everyone and always spent time with them, but I don't think I think they would have seen me get angry twice in 10 years, and I would not have cried in front of them since first standard or shown much sadness. But I also probably would not have shown interest in some things which were very common for other people to show interest. Apart from sports. Sports I always had interest in. But debates and quizzes, and often with taking responsibility for things I did not enjoy, like a lead role in some play or wanting to be a head boy or the sports captain. All of that never really appealed to me.
Why is that? What's the reason?
My personal preferences to what I liked, and also never attaching much value to status. The kind of status that comes with, say, being a captain I always viewed it as the extra work that came with it and nothing positive, honestly, that came with it.
So those statuses or titles that you got never really mattered to you of what other people thought of it and all that?
Even more so in my childhood than now. I probably did not give two hoots about what anybody thought except my group. That continues to today.
Yeah.
Not to as extreme an extent, but I always was quite ambivalent towards general public opinion.
Any reason?
Maybe it's because it was generally mostly positive.
Yeah.
But in probably mom's influence, that I didn't care much for fame or power or any of that kind of stuff, even if it was in the bubble of school. And also having seen what success really was in the pool, things like that in school didn't matter as much. It was just about having fun and probably doing well.
So was it more of just observing and absorbing everything around you?
Not actively, but I did end up probably observing and absorbing a lot.
And what has that taught you?
Not caring so much, and not but caring is not quite the right word, but not getting too high and too low on things that don't rate high on my perspective scale is probably the best way to go. That the worldview that I developed as a child through happenstance was probably good for me, because I saw things that other people did out of having a slightly different or more common approach to life that only caused them issues later, that I was very happy being the robot in school and later.
So you also just said that you developed this idea of success and what you thought of it. And I just find that really interesting that success to you didn't mean impressing everyone around you. It was happiness and in the pool in a different environment where you were just
possibly, and especially in school, it was definitely happiness was the most important thing. Definitely, because there was a little bit of pressure from home about academic results. You had to be. Did want to do well. In my academics, but this perspective shifts completely when you are swimming with people who've been to the Olympics and won medals at Youth Commonwealth Games. And whereas when you go to school, people are hyped about winning a medal at school annual day, or the sports day that they have once a year. So that was just for fun that I would do, but was never the kind of thing which everyone else was very impressed by. Was not something I would be impressed by.
And maybe it's also because the swimming was a sport where you just with yourself.
I always wanted to play a sport with other people involved. That's why I love basketball so much more. And I probably would like basketball more than, say, singles, badminton, or tennis.
Yeah.
I don't have a preference to be alone as a default. It's only sometimes. I would say rarely that it's there, though it is definitely present.
No, my thought is that the idea of swimming with yourself and only yourself developed this idea of not being impressed by what others thought of you.
I don't think I ever thought that deeply about it. Or that it ever affected any other part of my life as much.
Yeah, just free flowing. Like, who cares about what other people say?
And also, because of how much I was in the pool and because of how far I stayed away from school, I probably had very limited interaction with my schoolmates outside of school itself. So I was less likely to be not peer pressured, but swept along with the general mindset of people my age in my school.
Yeah.
Because of only spending time in school with them. And similarly, for people in my pool, I was more academically oriented than anyone at my swimming pool.
So that physical and emotional disconnect led to the idea of they exist, but that's all there is to them, and they just contribute to happiness.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely very close to some of them, but there was probably some element of they exist and not much more, because I don't remember being very broken up about leaving when I did, or missing them too much. Though I don't miss anyone or any situation much. That's some character defect of mine.
It's not a defect. And how does that relate to your situation today?
So I don't know how it happened, but I've gone to multiple cities for nationals, say to Kolkata, to Chennai, to Trivandrum, to Bhopal, Mysore, a lot of places. And every time I've been there, and even Chennai for the basketball nationals, which was a very different experience from anything I've had before. And somehow within a day, it feels like I've been doing that for the entirety of my life. It's not like I'm suddenly in a new city and it's all very different.
No, but why?
I have no clue whatsoever.
And does that work with most things in your life? Like you don't think too much about it?
Yeah, if I have no clue, I don't generally don't ponder about it and obsess over not having a clue. I just let it.
I find that really contrasting to the fact that you have some obsessions with certain things. Even analysis of a game or a certain move by a player, you go so in depth. And when it comes to some trivial things, you're just like, yeah, so what? What's next?
Yeah, it somehow developed the cliche of only bothering about what matters to me, like happiness matters and not much else in life, organically developed for me. So I'm able to obsess over the things that I am passionate about and not give a damn about most other things that are not that important in my life.
How does that work with the exploration of new things? Do you go in with an approach like a fresh mindset?
I have generally not done too many new things recently which I want to change. Because in my childhood, when I was swimming and school and whatever, I also learned Carnatic music for 10 years and learned the keyboard for 8.
Wow, you did everything.
But I hated playing the keyboard. I was a very bad student of that. But though I realized later how much of value it can add. And basketball, I just loved. So putting time and effort into it wasn't anything that required a specific mindset. So I suppose being open to learn and open to pick up things from others was important. When it comes to other new things, I probably need to work on that myself and be more open to or more proactive in trying new things rather than just waiting and staying comfortable.
It all just comes down to essentially if it can fit into that balance in my life.
Right. There will come a time, or there may come a time when a person feels like they need an aim to their life, something they need to achieve, so that when they get up every morning, it's something that is always there, driving what they do. So right now, I don't have anything like that. I mean, every morning there's something different that I need to wake up for or want to wake up for, but there is no overarching goal or motivation that drives everything all the time, which in a sense is there through school and college. And when I was swimming, especially in my childhood, there was like, oh sure, I'll go to the Olympics. But later, and I don't know if it'll happen, and it's fine if it doesn't happen, but there will probably come a time where I need to have a goal in life, and trying new things will only help make me understand what I want from my life, more than just happiness as a constant state of being.
Yeah, so now it's like more of living in the moment and just happiness. How has that changed from the fact that you had those fixed goals created by a system? How has that changed you?
It's given me an appreciation for goal setting and small things in a routine, and it's probably informed me of the meaning of what hard work really is. Like, people accept that you need to work hard to achieve something, but most people don't really understand how hard that hard work is. Having a goal and knowing how hard to work towards it, which can only come from having system or self-produced goal, which you really care about, is the only way you'll be able to appreciate or even understand the kind of work and the kind of different small things that go into small and large things that go into actually achieving a goal that matters.
So now it just comes down to everyday looking and appreciating at those little things and small things and how you can do better at each of those things, right?
At some things, yes. At other things, I mean, I just let it go. I think at the end of the day, mostly it's knowing that I'm happy and that I have a good life.
Yeah. So does coming to post office give you that peace of mind every day of happiness?
Yeah, definitely. After sitting in an office for hours or having to deal with meetings or deadlines or whatever, I can't say that I do not enjoy coding or work or studies, especially since I do have at least a little bit of innate talent for it.
Yeah.
I cannot approach the kind of joy I get from playing, especially playing basketball.
And I honestly feel that this idea of joy and happiness and looking at life through smaller moments and instances has come from your childhood and as you speak about your mother.
Probably, like she probably impressed through not either consciously or unconsciously the unimportance in her mind of certain things apart from goals and happiness. Though happiness probably didn't come straight from her. Importance of goals, importance of sticking to your philosophies and having strong philosophies came from her. But focusing on happiness just developed organically.
All right. I would love for this conversation to go on forever because like we have switched over from what I thought we were going to talk about to what we did eventually talk about. But yeah, on that note, I think we do come to the end of this podcast because it's gone way past what I thought it would eventually be.
Thank you, Veer.
And hopefully when it does come out, I'll feel that I did make the right choice of talking about happiness instead of his ACL tears and whatnot. But yeah.
Yeah. Let's not bore everyone else with ACL tears. We have enough injuries going around.
All right, man. Thank you for listening, everybody. And until the next episode, goodbye.